Okay, so let's start by making the front of the blouse. We need to mark all the points of the darts on the front first. Okay, so the closed-ended dart and the open-ended dart. So notice I'm marking the tip of the closed-ended dart, each of the corners of the box of this closed-ended dart. This is just like the demo we did. We're going to sew this the exact same way. So I'm putting pins through here. Now you have a couple of options of how you can mark this. You can do tailor tacks like we've done, all right, before in the past. Or in my case, I'm going to put pins through and you can mark it with chalk. Or if you're using a darker colored fabric, you can very, very lightly mark it with a pencil, all right? I'm letting you choose for this project how you want to mark it, okay? You just want to mark it with something nobody's going to notice. So I'm marking all these points now. I'm using a light pencil. This is a 5H pencil, so it leaves a very light mark, all right, that no one will see later, hopefully. But again, you can use chalk or you can do tailor tacks like we've done in the past. I'm marking on the wrong side of my fabric, okay? So I just did one side, and now here's the other side. I skipped over a bunch of it because there's no reason for you to see it twice. You know how to do it. All right, so let's finish marking this, and now I can take my pattern off. All right, so remember, now that I've done that, I'm going to stay stitch my armholes, okay? I have half-inch seam allowance, so I'm going to stay stitch it at a half-inch, both armholes. Right, this is all on that front pattern still. Do not stay stitch the neckline yet. I know we always stay stitch certain things right away, but in this case, we're just going to do the armholes, and then we'll do our neckline after we finish a few things, okay? Okay, now once your armholes are stay stitched, we're going to go back and we're going to interface our blouse front attached facing. So grab your interfacing, which is organza or siri, right, and lay right sides together. So right now the right side of my blouse is facing up, and I'm laying that right on the edge, like so. Okay, my interfacing. Just on the edges of it. And we can then pin them together, all right? Because all we're going to be sewing right now is that edge that I'm pinning. So again, we're laying our interfacing right on the edge there of our blouse front. They fit together perfectly. They're made for each other. Okay, once you've pinned them together, go ahead and stitch them on at 1/2 inch. Back tack, all right, beginning and end. So it's a stitch all the way around. You will not be stitching the neckline. It's just this front cut edge, okay? This is all your stitching on a 1/2 inch, okay? And do it to both fronts. Once you've stitched both of them, trim that 1/2 inch seam allowance down to 1/4 inch, okay? Try to make it a nice clean cut. And you'll do that on both sides as well. All right, now that's cut, we're going to understitch. So press all your seam allowance towards your interfacing side and then understitch. Okay, remember when we understitch, we're catching through the interfacing or facing, in this case the interfacing, and we're catching through the interfacing and we're catching all seam allowances, so they're all pushed towards that interfacing. And I'm stitching about 1/16 inch away from the seam where my interfacing is attached to my fashion fabric. So go ahead and do that to both sides as well. Okay, once that's done, we're going to press it flat first. Just flatten out that seam nice and set in our stitches. Okay. Now be careful in pressing because remember we have not stay stitched our necklines on our fashion fabric or our interfacing. So it can easily stretch. Now, fold that seam back to the wrong side. Okay, so I have a nice finished edge here now. And go ahead and press that flat. Okay, you should be pulling about 1/16 inch of fashion fabric back towards our interface side. And just give it a nice press flat. Okay, so now we've finished off that what we call attached facing of our blouse front. And how did we finish it off? We finished it off with our interfacing. Okay, so it's a nice clean finished seam there. All right, and there it is. Okay, now what we'll do is we will stay stitch our neckline. Okay, so put a couple pins in holding the interfacing in place before you stay stitch it. Okay, so see it's folded back where we pressed it to the wrong side of the blouse. Okay, and I'm just going to put a couple pins in here. And we'll stay stitch the whole neckline, from one side to the other. All right, then you'll stay stitch that at a 1/2 inch. And you'll do this on both sides. Okay. So this blouse is symmetrical, meaning the left and right side of it are the exact same. So whatever we do to one side, we do it to the other. So if you only see me doing it to one side, you can assume I'm doing it to the other side as well. All right. So now we need to baste in our fold line. So notice there's this darker line on your pattern. That's our fold line, okay? And that's how the attached facing will fold back, just like it did on the pattern, okay? Just like this is what's going to happen. But we want to baste in, just like on the hem of our skirt, so we know exactly where to fold it back. We want to baste that line in. So you'll notice there's 3 notches, 1, 2, 3, on the top and bottom. We want to mark that center notch of those 3 notches. That's going to be our fold line. All right, so here we go. Let's mark that. And then do the same thing on the bottom. All right, find those 3 notches and mark the center notch. I'm marking it with a pin right now so you can see it a little better. All right, now flip it, do it to both sides, flip it to the wrong side. Now I'm marking with chalk where I put a pin in that center notch, okay? And the same thing here, I'm marking with chalk. Now I'm marking that notch because I can easily line up my ruler. Instead of trying to find those notches, I can see the chalk, okay? Line up your ruler between those 2 chalk marks and then draw a line with your chalk, okay? Notice I'm not using pencil or Tailor tacks, I'm using chalk here. Okay, so use your chalk finger or your chalk wheel and mark that. Once it's marked, thread up a needle, and we're going to do a, you can do either an even or uneven basting stitch. All right, so just do I'll be doing an uneven basting stitch here, and I'm just going right through that chalk line. And then this will mark the fold line, just like we did on the hem of the skirt. We'll know exactly where to fold back our attached facing so we get an accurate edge, and do this, baste both sides. Okay, there we go. We've now attached our interfacing to our facing and basted in our line, our fold line. Next we'll move on to the darts.